Donnie and Dolly, the team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
All of our guests today, including John Shannon, standing by, brought to you by our title sponsor, ableauctions.ca. As we bring in NHL analyst and co-host of the Bob McCown podcast, author of Evolve or Die, which Brian Burke is reading as we speak, John Shannon. How are you, sir?
Good. I guess I can't rip Berkey now, can I?
No, it's over. No. Yeah, no, he's a big fan. Hey, we just talked about the Bruins. John, what is Jim Montgomery's gift as a head coach? One of the great comeback stories of recent hockey history?
Well, I think, first of all, I think he has a great connection with young players. And I think that speaks to his time in the U.S. college ranks. The other thing is in many ways, I think that coming off the success that the Bruins had with Bruce Cassidy, Montgomery was smart enough to say, okay, you have to respect what Bruce taught these guys, but we're going to let them be freelance a little bit more, open it up a little bit more. And so, and I think we've seen that, to be honest, throughout the NHL, where these quality coaches get opportunities with quality teams. I think Pete DeBoer in Dallas has done a similar thing with the foundation that Rick Bowness created. I think Bruce Cassidy has done the same thing with the foundation that DeBoer built in Vegas. So, there is some sort of irony that three of the four guys coaching at the All-Star game are guys that were fired last summer and now have rejuvenated their careers in their first year in new cities.
Mm-hmm. Rick Bowness doing a pretty good job with Paul Maurice's Jets as well, John. Hey, Evgeny Malkin, 2 goals and 2 assists. Pens beat the Canucks last night. He's 52nd all-time in points. Calder Trophy, Conn Smythe, Hart, the list goes on. Art Ross's. Do we appreciate him enough?
No, and it even goes back to the top 100 players in the history of the National Hockey League when he wasn't even listed on that group, which was an embarrassment. I was part of that nominating group, and he was on my 100, but it wasn't on enough to get to the top 100. I think there are a lot of omissions on that list. One of them a former Canuck, by the way. But Malkin, to me, was the biggest omission of that, and I do think that I heard your discussion about this before with Jágr and Malkin, and I did understand you, Donnie, that if they were Canadian, we would probably put them on a different level. But I think Malkin has been a victim of his inability to speak the language, not get enough media attention. But certainly his play on the ice has put him, in my mind, in the top 100 of all time and maybe even the top 50.
I think I've got you right here, John. Who was the former Canuck that didn't
Alex
make it
Mogilny.
to the top 100? Yeah,
Alex Mogilny.
Yeah, what a talent.
And who isn't in the Hall of Fame yet? Hello, wake up.
Yep.
Come on. Alex Mogilny and Joe Nieuwendyk are comparable players. Joe Nieuwendyk's in the Hall of Fame. Why isn't Alex Mogilny?
Yeah. Very good question. John, the big story in Vancouver right now is the Jim Rutherford article in Pittsburgh where he talked a little bit about stress and possibly retiring. What do you make of that?
I'm not surprised. I think that, when Jimmy left the Penguins, it wasn't of his own doing 100%. So, you always want to get back on the bike as quickly as you can. The Canucks situation looked like one that was palatable. All these guys, like Bruce, like Jimmy, want to come back and work in Canada. They've had lots of success in the United States, but to work in a Canadian market is a real challenge for all of them. And I think it's been a steep learning curve for him, that the pressure of managing and running a team in this country is vastly different than it is in the United States. And I think once in a while in the last, 13 months now, I think he's looked in the mirror and said, why did I do this? What am I doing? I'm 74 years old. I don't need this stress in my life. I have a beautiful house in Raleigh. I can enjoy my life. what have I done? And then the question becomes: does his competitive spirit then take over and say, you know what, you guys, I'm gonna fix this? And I think that's the battle that a guy like Rutherford has.
John, I think one of the big things, I think there's two factors here. I think he's never worked in a Canadian market, and it's kind of like, holy smokes, the heat, the pressure, the whole 9 yards. You know, Canucks Twitter and all that.
I think I said that already.
Yeah, we all get in there. We all get there. The second problem is, I think when they looked at this roster, they thought they could turn it around a whole lot quicker, and it's going to take time. There's a lot of bad contracts. They can't get rid of the bad contracts. That's been a big issue.
Everybody thinks they're a miracle worker from outside.
Yeah.
You know, they really think that they have the answer. I think that Jim thought he had the answer on the style of management he was trying to create, the new structure of the front office and bringing in new and different people. I think that's been a challenge for him as well. You know, and the spotlight is so vastly different. I mean, nobody better understands that better than Brian Burke, who has worked in both countries. And I think that there's some guys that are designed for it, and there are some guys that aren't. And when you're out of Canada for as long as some of these guys have been, it's an absolute shock to their whole system.
Yeah. The Kraken. They beat the Sabres. They've won 6 straight, fairly comfortable third place in the Pacific Division, third overall in goals for per game. How is it possible, John, that these expansion teams can be so good so early?
Well, the rules have been put in place, and the owners were happy to take the $650 million to make the rules easier for them. And then Ron Francis is a smart guy. Ron Francis, who had a different style than George McPhee did, Ron Francis said, you know what, I'm going to get a team, and then I'm going to not be able to leverage it the way George did, but I'm going to use my cap space. I think the best example of that is what he did last summer with the free agent signings of Burakovsky. And then the moment that Patrick Laine was on the verge of signing that new deal in Columbus, was able to phone Jarmo Kekalainen and say, well, you're going to have to lose somebody. I'll take Oliver Bjorkstrand off your hands, because they had the space. And Ron Francis was in for the long haul to build this team, and he's done it properly. They still have – they're not a lock to make the playoffs yet, because I think you still have to wonder what the heck's going on in Calgary and Edmonton. But Seattle has proven that they have a foundation, they have depth, they have a couple of players that are having career years in Vince Dunn and Adam Larson. So from that perspective, they're pointed in the right direction, and they've reinvigorated, you know, the kid from North Vancouver, Martin Jones, in goal, which is, you know, in my mind, he's the comeback player of the year in the NHL.
Yeah, a couple of enormous saves last night. Did you watch our first hour by any chance, John?
I watched most of it. And I was yelling at the TV saying, forget about the Sears catalog. You know, we in my hometown, way down there in the South Okanagan, we had the mail order store for Eaton's at one end of downtown, and the Sears guys and the Sears Simpson Sears.
That's right.
At the other end. Yeah. You know, and then you know, the first time I moved to the United States, my wife finds out that the Spiegel catalog can deliver too. So then we end up with the Spiegel catalog, Chicago 60609, and you know, life is good. Everybody thinks Amazon is new. Amazon isn't new.
Yeah.
It's just not in paper form anymore.
That's right. That's right. What I was going to say is, and I know we're running out of time here. Do you agree with me on being able to get an assist on your own goal, which Crosby, if those rules were in place, would have got last night?
I understand what you're saying, and I think you're absolutely, totally wrong. I'm one of those advocates. I'd like to get rid of the second assist.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
I think we go back to a single assist, which, by the way, the last time the league did it, I think, was just after the Second World War in 45 and 46. We only had single assists in those days. I'd like to see that, because I think there's a lot of, and I hate this primary secondary thing. I think it's stupid. This was an American thing they brought in about 6 or 7 years ago. I think they bring it. Let's have one assist. Okay. Let's just have one assist and let that guy get the credit for setting up the goal, and not have to worry about, you know, having a guy that touched the puck way down on the other end of the ice as he was going off, as it tipped off his skate, and he gets an assist.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the way it used to be back when the Spiegel catalog was a big thing. Okay,
Chicago 60609.
There you go. I'll look it up. John, thanks for this. Appreciate it.
And I'm with Rick. I mean, Sears catalog was pretty damn good.
Hey, as a kid though, it was really good.
Yeah, I think you had different reasons for reading the catalog than Rick.
He was going to one section.
The toy section. I went to the toy section.
That's what I was talking about. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks, John.